What do you think is the biggest ship in the world? Is it an aircraft carrier? How about a battleship? You'd be wrong if you thought so. The biggest ships are actually cargo ships. The largest cargo ship in the world is the MSC Irina, which was launched in 2018. It's almost a quarter-mile long, which is around 300 meters. To put that into perspective, it's roughly the same length as the Eiffel Tower is tall. But there are plenty of other amazing facts about ships that you probably didn't know. Number 11. A ship can be many things. A ship can be a metaphor for life, as in the captain of the ship of state, or a ship can be a metaphor for a person's career, like when someone says they're jumping ship. But did you know a ship can also be a metaphor for a girl's heart? In Disney's 1989 film The Little Mermaid, Ariel longs to become part of the human world. So she makes a deal with a sea witch named Ursula to trade her beautiful singing voice for human legs. Ursula takes Ariel down to the surface and transforms her into a human, but not before tricking Ariel into signing a contract that states if she doesn't get a kiss of true love within 3 days, she belonged to Ursula forever. And what does this have to do with ships? Well, when Ariel returns to her father's kingdom, she tells her friends, the seagulls, that she needs their help to find a prince who will kiss her and break the spell. They agree and set sail on their ship. And that's how a ship became a metaphor for a girl's heart. Number 10. More than one ship. Ancient Greek and Roman sailors would often name their ships after famous people. For example, the Greek admiral Demetrius Poliorcetes named his ship after the philosopher Plato. But sometimes they would name their ships after more than one famous person. For example, the Roman general Pompey the Great had 2 ships named after the Greek poet, Homer. But why would they name their ships after more than one person? Well, in ancient times, ships were often seen as a symbol of power and wealth. By naming your ship after more than one famous person, you were essentially saying that you're as great as these people, if not greater. This was especially true for ships that were used in war. For example, during the Peloponnesian War, the Athenians built a warship named after 2 of their most famous citizens, the statesman Pericles and the general Cimon. Similarly, the Romans would often name their warships after 2 of their most famous generals, Julius Caesar and Marcus Junius Brutus. Of course, this practice didn't always work out. For example, Caesar was assassinated before he ever saw his namesake ship in battle, and Brutus would later be killed by Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, who would go on to become the first emperor of Rome. But that didn't stop the Romans from continuing to name their ships after famous people. Even today, we see this practice continuing in the US Navy, where ships are named after famous Americans such as George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and John F. Kennedy. Number 9. Ship parts. Did you know that the word for a ship's wheel actually comes from a Native American language? It's derived from the Ojibwe word mishapesu, which means large and round. When European explorers arrived in North America in the 1600s, They encountered the Ojibwe people and their canoes, which had large round wheels that were made from logs. The explorers were impressed by the Ojibwe's shipbuilding skills and adopted the word Mishapeshu to describe the ship's wheels. Number 8. A ship in a bottle. One of the most impressive feats of shipbuilding is creating a ship that can fit inside a bottle. It takes a lot of skill and precision to create a tiny vessel that can float and maneuver through the narrow confines of a glass bottle. But it's not impossible. In fact, there are several documented cases of ships being built and launched from bottles. The earliest known record of a ship being built inside a bottle dates back to 1810, when an English sailor named John Finmore created a ship that could be launched from a decanter. Over the years, many other shipbuilders have followed in Finmore's footsteps. One of the most famous examples is the work of German shipbuilder Johann Henel, who in 1900 built a model ship that could be launched from a champagne bottle. Henel's ship was over 1,000 feet long and took him over a year to complete. Since then, many other ship models have been built that can be launched from bottles, including a replica of Henel's ship that was built in 2001. Number 7. The Kraken. The Kraken is a legendary sea monster that's said to dwell off the coast of Norway. It's described as a gigantic squid or octopus-like creature that's capable of dragging entire ships and their crews to the bottom of the ocean. Although the Kraken is a mythical beast, there may be some truth to the legend. In the 12th century, a Norwegian historian and poet named Snorri Sturluson wrote about a sea monster that he called a havguffa. He described it as a whale-sized creature that lived in the depths of the ocean and attacked ships by wrapping its tentacles around them. Sturlu's description of the havguffa is strikingly similar to the description of the Kraken, leading many to believe that there may be some connection between the two creatures. No. 6. Pirates. Pirates were a common sight on the high seas during the 17th and 18th centuries. These fearsome outlaws would attack and plunder ships carrying valuable goods. But pirates weren't just interested in stealing other people's stuff. They were also interested in their ships, too. In fact, piracy was often a way for pirates to get their hands on their own vessels. Many pirates started out as sailors on merchant ships, but eventually grew tired of their low wages and harsh working conditions. They would then jump ship and try to make it on their own as pirates. Sometimes they would steal a ship from a merchant. Other times they would build their own, but no matter how they got their hands on a ship, pirates were often willing to do anything to protect their vessels. They knew that without their ship, they were nothing, so they fiercely defended their boats from both the authorities and other pirates. Number 5. A real-life submarine. One of the most exciting developments in naval history was the invention of the submarine. This new type of vessel allowed for stealthy underwater operations that could go undetected by enemy ships. But while submarines are now a common sight in the Navy, they were once a relatively new and mysterious invention. When the first submarines were being developed, there was a lot of speculation about how they would be used in battle. Some people believed that submarines would be too slow and cumbersome to be practical. Others believed that they were too expensive to build and maintain. But as the technology improved, it became clear that submarines were here to stay. Today, submarines are an important part of many navies around the world. They're used for a variety of missions, including intelligence gathering, surveillance, and attack. 4. Treasure. For centuries, sunken ships have been a source of mystery and intrigue. These lost vessels are often said to be carrying valuable treasure that's just waiting to be found. And while many people have tried their luck at searching for sunken treasure, very few have ever actually found anything. That's because most sunken ships are in very deep water where they're difficult to locate. But even if you find a sunken ship, you still have to contend with the elements, which can quickly destroy any treasure that's not been properly preserved. Despite the difficulty, many people continue to search for sunken treasure because the potential rewards are just too great to pass up. 3. Bigger than a ship. When most people think of big objects, they think of buildings or mountains. But there are some things in the world that are much larger than even the biggest building or mountain. For example, there are some clouds that are bigger than ships. Cumulonimbus clouds are the largest type of cloud and can reach heights of over 10 kilometers. These clouds are so massive that they can contain entire thunderstorms. Number 2, the Bismarck. The Bismarck was a German battleship that was active during World War II. It was one of the most powerful ships in the German Navy and was feared by the British, French, and Dutch. The Bismarck was involved in several major battles during the war, including the Battle of Denmark and Norway, the Battle of the Atlantic, and the Battle of the River Plate. The ship was eventually sunk by the Royal Navy off the coast of France in 1941. 1 lifeboat. Lifeboats are an essential part of any coastal community. These brave volunteers risk their lives every day to save the lives of others. Whether it's rescuing swimmers who have gotten caught in a rip current, or helping sailors who have been stranded at sea for days, lifeguards are always ready to answer the call. They undergo rigorous training to prepare them for any situation, and they re-equipped with the latest technology to help them do their jobs effectively. Lifeguards don't do it for the glory. They simply enjoy knowing that they're making a difference in their communities. If you ever see a lifeguard on duty, take a moment to thank them for their service. They're truly risking their lives to keep us safe.